Three, three, two, one. Welcome back to a new episode of the Chill Taste Podcast. I'm your host, Darian, and as you can see from this title, 2026 NFL Mock Draft 2.0. Last week, I gave you the first mock of this draft cycle, in my opinion, and this week, I'm providing you with the second mock of mine. And of course, next week, I'll give you my third and final NFL mock draft. Now, my 1.0 was a bit bland, no trades, but this one is jam-packed with a few really good trade options, in my opinion. And before I get into this episode, please make sure you sub to the channel, follow, like, and comment down below your thoughts on this mock draft. But without further ado, let's get right into it. As you can see, I still have Fernando Mendoza going first overall. I shouldn't have to talk much about this, in my opinion, because, hell, it's pretty much a given at this point. The Raiders did bring in a vet quarterback, light Kirk Cousins, to be the stopgap, the bridge guy for Fernando to learn under for a few games or so. But I think Mendoza, without question, at some point this year, will be the starting quarterback, QB1 for this Raiders team. If not, definitely in year two. All right, moving on to pick number 2. Last week, I think I had the Jets selecting Arvell Reese. But as we get closer to the draft, I think they will use their right mind and draft David Bailey. Now, I would love them to draft someone like Ruben Bain Jr., but I think Ruben Bain Jr. will fall a bit because of some measurables and also some interesting off-the-field issues that have kind of spiked up within this week or so. But I do believe the Jets will go edge rusher. They should definitely go with David Bailey. I think although he is the most explosive edge rusher in this year's class, he's a bit of a wild card choice, in my opinion, too. But he's worth banking on more, in my opinion, than someone like Arvell Reese. When you watch him on his tape, he stands out tremendously. He's great at stopping the run, and also he has amazing juice coming off that edge. I mean, he can be someone like Nick Bonito as a floor, or maybe even a Von Miller if everything checks out for this guy. I think he's very special, and he can definitely turn up this Jets defense, something that they haven't had at the edge rushing position and maybe quite some time now, right? I know Jermaine Johnson stepped in. It was pretty nice. Will McDonald has been really solid for them too, but I think David Bailey can be an easy double-digit sack guy after year one for the next probably like 5-6 seasons in the NFL. So I think David is really special. At number 3, as you can see, I have the Cowboys jumping up from pick, 12 to number 3. Yes, I have them trading with the Arizona Cardinals for pick 12, 20, 92, and also a 2027 third-round pick. The Cowboys will receive this year's third from the Cardinals and also pick 34. Now, everyone may think like, well, this is too rich. I don't think it is. I think this is the obvious trade package the Cardinals should be asking to, give up or should be requesting in regards to teams wanting to come into the top 3 to draft their guy. And from all the reports from a lot of draft analysts out there, from Mel Kiper, Daniel Jeremiah, Todd McShay, hell, even guys like Jordan Schultz, who is more of a NFL beat reporter, they've all been saying that the Cowboys and Jerry Jones have been extremely interested in getting into the top 5, bunny hopping a New York Giant prospect. The Giants are heavily favoring in, of course, all signs point to the Giants, more than likely drafting someone like Sonny Styles if he's available. And I think the Cowboys will jump up the top 3 and draft their new green dot linebacker, someone they haven't had at the linebacker position in quite some time. Probably the last one being Lee. I forgot his first name, but Lee or Leighton Vander Esch. It's been a very long time since the Cowboys have had a serious backer at the helm. And I think Sonny Styles can step in year one and be a difference maker for this Cowboys defense. So I have the Cowboys drafting linebacker Sonny Styles, giving up a good amount of picks and some draft compensation, but it has to be for a top 3 pick. Moving on to number 4, the Titans. I think they will draft Jeremiah Love. I would love to see Arvell Reese go here to learn under Robert Saleh. I would love to see Ruben Bain go here as well, but I don't think it'll happen. I think the Titans are going to draft a running back right here, although they do have Tajay Spears and Tony Pollard still on the board, and it may still be an Arvell reselection right here. But my thing is, I think Robert Saleh will kind of pivot to a different direction and trying to add to his offense as much as possible. And for Cam Ward and Brian Dable to lean on in year one in this system. And I think Jeremiah Love would be an excellent pickup for the Titans and be a huge headache for a lot of teams, not only in the AFC, but most importantly in the AFC South. At number 5, I could see the Giants trading down from this pick. It all depends who could come up. This could be a situation where the Chiefs jump up to 5 and draft someone like Cardinal Tate. This could be where, the Bengals come up to number 5 and draft their guy, or maybe even the Dolphins. Who knows? But I think right now they will remain right here. And given their offensive line, I think they have their two, bookend tackles in someone like Andrew Thomas and also Jermaine Eleanor. But, you have a Swiss Army knife, someone like Francis Muyaga, who can play both tackle and guard. I think he projects more so as a right tackle at the next level. A lot of NFL scouts are saying that he could definitely be a guard. That's what his projection is. But I think he can play without question both guard and tackle. And we all know the injury history of someone like Andrew Thomas. The Giants can kick Jermaine Eleanor to the left side, and you have Francis play right tackle. I think right tackle right here for the Giants would be ideal, or offensive line, in my opinion, would be ideal. And also for someone that, Harbaugh emphasizes on trying to establish a running attack. And also this would be a good pickup to also protect their franchise guy and someone like their franchise quarterback and someone like Jackson Dart. So I think Francis would be a great pickup right here. At number 6, I have the Browns selecting Cardinal Tate still. They have a need for a receiver. They have a pick later in the draft. They can address the offensive line if need be. But you have to go out there and grab, from a scout standpoint, the best receiver in this year's class. I still believe it is Jordan Tyson. But Cardinal Tate has all the makeup of being a special receiver at the next level. I don't know if he screams alpha number 1 right now, but the Browns have a desperate need for a playmaker on the outside to help out whoever the quarterback is this upcoming season. At pick 7, this could be a spot where Arville Reese off the board. I think I had Sony Styles going to the Giants. No, I had the Giants selecting I had the Commanders selecting David Bailey in my first mock draft. And if Arville Reese projects as an edge, I don't see why the Commanders don't go this direction. I think Arville isn't the ideal edge rusher, in my opinion, but he is someone that you can definitely craft into being something very special at this level. And, the last time Dan Quinn inherited someone who didn't have enough edge rushing experience at the collegiate level, but definitely turned into someone that was a phenomenon and a special elite talent at the edge rushing position, was, of course, Michael Parsons. Right now, of course, I think Micah was way more fine-tuned as an edge rusher than someone like Arvell. But like I said, Dan Quinn has the coaching ability to really develop someone like Arvell. And given that Arvell, thrives so heavily off just instinct and just going out there making football plays from the edge rushing position, who knows? He may check off all the boxes the Commanders need at the edge rushing spot to play opposite of someone like Odofe Owe. And also, he's a guy that can play backer as well. All right. As you can see right here, the Jets, I have them jumping into the top 10. Back into the top 10 after drafting at pick 2. I think they will shore up on their defense. They want the edge rusher with pick 2 and David Bailey. And I have them calling up the Saints to get pick 16, in exchange for pick 8, they send pick 16 and pick 44 to the New Orleans Saints. The Saints, they have a lot of holes to fill on this team still, and I think trading down, if possible, to get some more draft compensation would be big for them. And the Saints, and the Jets have some draft capital to give up. And I think of this pick right here, the Jets draft corner. I think Mansour Delane will be the first cornerback off the board, and I think the Jets should be all over him. The Jets just lost Sauce Gardner last year. They did do some pretty decent jobs of acquiring corners and free agency, but you don't have a bona fide number 1 guy. You have a bunch of guys that are solid, but you don't have a number 1. And I think Mansour Delane can step in year 1 and be this team's CB1. And if you have a defense you can build around with David Bailey, Mansour Delane, you already had Tre'Davious Sweat up front. You have Will McDonald up front as well. I think this would be a really fun defense that Aaron Glenn can really continue to build up in this draft and also in next year's class if he's still around for the immediate future. At pick number 9, you have the Chiefs chilling right here. And this could be a situation where they trade down, right? This could be a situation where they go defense, they go corner, so on and so forth. But I think Reuben Bain Jr. will be an excellent pickup for the Chiefs right here. They have a defensive front that has been kind of suffering throughout these last few years because they have no legitimate pass rush outside of Chris Jones. Now, I do believe George Karlaftis is solid. He's a 10 sack guy, 8 sack guy, but he doesn't have that juice. He doesn't have that extra edge that you can really like, pin your ears back. He's coming. Pause. But Ruben Bain Jr. provides that. We've seen what Ruben Bain Jr. has done at the collegiate level at Miami. He's been a phenomenon, a special talent. And honestly, if his arms weren't so damn short, he would be a top 2 pick, in my opinion. He honestly should be the number 1 overall pick. But given his measurables, and like I said, the off the field issues that have spiked up as of recent, he will fall a little bit. I've seen reports that he could possibly fall in the first round. I don't think so. I think he'll be a top 10 pick still. And this would be an amazing selection for the Chiefs at pick number 9. At 10, I think I had this in my last mock, and I'm sticking with it. The Bengals need to get a blue chip prospect on defense. They have no one to account for right now. I mean, you could bring some extra help up front for someone like Shamar Stewart, especially with Trey Henderson going to a divisional rival in the Ravens. But, I mean, they just got to grab somebody. And you can argue that Caleb Downs is the best player in this year's draft. Yeah, they have some safety play that's okay, right? Jordan Battle is, you know what I'm saying? But they just lost Geno Stone in free agency, and he was nothing to really, pound the table about. So I think if they can bring in someone like Caleb, they have some solid corners out there. I know DJ Turner's leading the way. They probably add more in the draft, but nevertheless, though, they bring in someone like Caleb Downs and address edge rusher later in the draft. This would be, without question, ideal. Pick 11, the Dolphins on the board. Now, I think the Dolphins need a lot. I like Jamon McCoy, but I just feel as if with the injuries he sustained, not playing a full 2025 season in college, we haven't seen Jamon McCoy play since the college football playoffs, Tennessee versus Ohio State. That's a long time ago, it feels like, right? And it really is. So I think they'll pass up on a corner right here. They could trade down to grab some more assets, right? But I think this is a situation where they have to go receiver. And I think Mekhi Lemon or Jordan Tyson. I want to go Tyson, but with the injury, no, I'm gonna go Tyson. Screw that, right? I don't care about the injuries. I think if you're a ball player, you're a ball player. Yes, the injuries are a bit of a I wouldn't say laundry list, but they stacked up all the time. And of course, the best ability is availability. But I think Jordan Tyson, in my opinion, is the best receiver in this year's class. And I think if he can go to Miami, stay healthy, he can be a Puka Nacua type receiver for that offense without whoever's playing quarterback. It wouldn't matter, whether it's Malik Willis, Quinn Ewers, or Arch Manning next year. They got to get a guy out there to, replace the loss of Jalen Waddle and, of course, Tyreek Hill. And I think Tyson can step in and be that guy. All right, the Cardinals. As you already know, I had them trading with the Cowboys. They gave up pick 3 and pick 34 to attain pick 12, 2092, and a future third-round pick from the Cowboys. I'm not sure if this third-round pick will be something they would add to the package, but you have to get the trade to go through on this simulator. But the Cardinals, for some odd reason, have been in the quarterback sweepstakes. Todd McShay, Peter Strager, I want to say Mel Kiper as well, have been some notable draft analysts and NFL analysts that have been highlighting the fact that the Cardinals are extremely interested in Ty Simpson. And when they finalized their top 30 visits, Ty Simpson was the last prospect to show up and visit. If it happens, it happens, right? I mean, we've seen crazier things on draft day. I'm going with what I'm seeing, not what I believe on this pick, right? But there could be a situation where the Cardinals say, hey, this is our guy. He could go anywhere from pick 10 on down, right? We all know the Saints. We all know the Steelers have a need for quarterback. We all know Andrew Berry has been flirting with the idea of drafting the quarterback, right? You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of teams, 12 and down that have a need for quarterback. I think Ty Simpson could very well be a spot, right here for him to go. And honestly, I mean, the Jets could draft him too, you know what I'm saying? So I just don't believe the Cardinals are willing to bank on Ty Simpson being there in the second round, even at pick 3 in the second round. So I think they draft him at pick 12 in the first round. And it may seem crazy as hell at first, but you never know when it comes down to the NFL draft. So moving on to pick 13. A lot of people have highlighted that this could be where Mekhi Lemon goes. The Rams could go tackle right here, Kenyon Sadiq. And now my mock draft originally, I think I had them going tackle right here, or maybe Kenyon Sadiq. I don't know. I think I forgot, but I'm going to scratch whatever I did previously. I'm going to have them draft Makai Lemon right here. Puka Nakua is going through rehab. He should be back, right? He should be well and ready to go by at least training camp, right? And he should be getting contract extension here very soon. However, Devontae Adams has already been in trade rumors, right? They try to package Devontae up for a younger receiver that can do his role at some point during the season. We all know they don't really have a need for a receiver. I was about to lie and say that, but they are trying to, take advantage of this championship window. And when you do that, you want to acquire as many offensive and defensive skill position players as possible. They already swung for the fence and they hit on the trade for Trent McDuffie, and they also brought in Jalen Watson for their new cornerback duo, right? So now they have to address offense, and I think receiver could definitely be a pick right here at number 13. At pick 14, man, I had the Ravens drafting Jordan Tyson here. You could see someone like Casey Concepcion go right here at pick 14, but it may be too early for him. I think this could be a situation where the Ravens go guard, right? Vega Oyane is a really good player. I mean, a very special player. And although many people out there are mocking him to the Steelers, he may not make it down that far. I think he should honestly be the second offensive lineman off the board. And the Ravens have a need for a guard, right? The guard play they had last year was absolutely treacherous. It was terrible, right? It was borderline unplay, and it was unplayable. But then they continued to throw him out. I forgot the guy's name. It was like started with the last name F. He now plays for the Giants now. But regardless of the fact, though, the Ravens have a need for offensive guard and also someone that can kind of like help out whoever plays center for this team's upcoming season. And I think Vega Oyane would be an excellent pickup for the Ravens here at pick 14. All right, pick 15. You see it. I have the Bears trading up 10 spots with the Buccaneers in exchange for pick 25 and pick 60. Now, the Bears have some draft capital. Trading DJ Moore away in exchange for pick 60 was big for them because, when they got rid of a receiver and also they grabbed some good draft capital. And we all know how aggressive Ryan Poles can be on draft night. And I think this is a spot where they try to go defense. They try to go defense right here. And they grab, an edge rusher or a defensive tackle. I think Keldrick Folk is a really good player. I really do. I know a lot of people out there don't really believe in his game, how he can translate to the next level, but I think he can be a very special player. I think if the Buccaneers were to stay here at this pick, I think they would draft him. They could go safety here as well, but, maybe safety's not really high on their board. You have someone like Dylan Diamond. I like Dylan Diamond a lot. D tackle, Peter Woods could be a good spot for him, or Caden McDonald. Really great spot for both these players. But I'm going to go linebacker. I'm going to go edge rusher. I think Keldrick Folk, how he projects to the next level, he is going to be really good. He is long, lanky, and he can get off that edge and stop the run, but he will get better at getting after the passer as well. And they have a need for edge rusher in Chicago, right? They have a need for a lot of defensive players, but I think they'll address edge rusher early. And I could definitely see them trading up for one of the better edge rushers in this class, in my opinion, in Keldrick Folk. 16, the Saints. Like I said, they already swapped first-round picks with the Jets. They swapped pick 8 for pick 16 and also grabbed pick 44 later in the draft, so they got a good haul for that. Now, what the Saints need, in my opinion, could go in different directions: edge, receiver, corner, guard, or tight end. I think edge is interesting right here. You have Chase Young. I forgot who the other edge spot player is right now, but they have maybe not the most need to address edge. You could go receiver right here. Casey Concepcion and Chris Olave would be amazing for Tyler Shuck next year. Could go guard. Chase Basantis is really special in my opinion. Also, Emmanuel Pregnon from Oregon. Sorry for pronouncing these names wrong, but they have some good options right here. But if I'm the Saints, I think you should draft best player available. And I think at this point in the draft, although it is a bit risky, you lost Alontae Taylor in free agency to the Jets, right? But you have Kool-Aid McKinstry, and I think Jermon McCoy will be a nice pairing if he's healthy. I have him going Jermon McCoy right here. I really had him going cornerback with their 8th overall pick or receiver or maybe edge or linebacker, depending who all fell. But they can still grab, one of the better corners in this year's class, although he is a bit, questionable injury. I think at pick 16 is great value for the Saints, in my opinion. So Jermon McCoy to play opposite of Kool-Aid McKinstry will be very dirty, not dirty birds. I'm sorry. Fly Eagles fly. I'm thinking about the Falcons. I'm so sorry. Eagles fans are about to banish me to hell. But no, fly Eagles fly. Howie Roseman, get aggressive, right? You have a need for defensive front, edge rusher to be exact. The Lions stack up on picks because you have an expensive roster. You want to grab as many draft assets as possible. So you trade down to pick 23. I'm quite sure the lineman you want is going to be there at pick 23 anyways. And as for the Eagles, though, they have a need for edge rusher, and the edge rusher they may want may not be available, especially with the teams coming up on the board. And also they may go tackle, right? Lane Johnson is flirting with retirement. I'm sorry. And this could be a spot where Monroe Freeling goes, Spencer Fanu goes, guys that can play, really develop in the system and play a bit of guard too. But, I'm a big fan of Spencer Fanu. I think Monroe Freeling is a special talent from an athletic standpoint. And we all know how the Eagles go about drafting Georgia players. So I'm going to go Monroe. I'm sorry, I said Monroe. Yeah, I'm sorry. 3, 2, 1. For the Eagles right here, they love the Georgia players. So I'm gonna go with Monroe Freeling. I think he'll be a great addition to this Eagles team, develop and learn, and be the Lane Johnson eventual replacement. Pick 18. I had them going Dylan Thyman with his pick for the Vikings, and I'm sticking with that. I think Dylan Thyman will be an amazing pickup for this Vikings defense. Yes, they don't have a desperate need for safety play, but you just lost Harrison Smith, and I think he would be a more athletic replacement. I think he would be a staple in this Brian Flores defense and really be a chess piece that Brian Flores can utilize from a box safety, a free roaming safety, or even playing a bit nickel, in my opinion. Dylan Thyman is special. He kind of reminds me of that blend between Brian Branch and hell, even someone like Caleb Downs a bit, man. I mean, it's the flip of the coin. I think Caleb Downs is definitely special without question, but I think Dylan Thyman is right behind him. All right. So moving on, pick 19. The Panthers did a really good job of acquiring offensive lineman replacement for someone like Ike Ekwonu, right? They brought in Rasheed Walker. But you never know, right? You never know. But you also have a need for offensive skill position help. I love Kenyon Sadiq right here, and I like Spencer Fanu right here, and I even like Caleb Lumu right here, but I even like Peter Woods right here. You can go in some different directions, maybe even someone like Emmanuel McNeil Warren. However, I'm going to grab Kenyon Sadiq. I think you want to be able to draft and add as much help as you can for Bryce Young to really thrive and be his best at. You brought in Titaro McMillan last year, right? But you can never bring in too many offensive pieces, especially when you don't have a bona fide receiver outside of Titaro McMillan for someone like Bryce Young to lean on. I think Kenyon Sadiq will be a great pickup for this Panthers offense, and also it's great value. So I will probably won't finalize this next week, but as of right now, I think Kenyon Sadiq will be a great pickup for the Panthers. All right, pick 20. Now, in my original drafts, I have the Cardinals going offensive tackle to play opposite and be their bookend tackle of Paris Johnson Jr. They could go edge with this pick, in my opinion, as well. Right? You have someone like Akeem Massador. I can play opposite side of someone like Josh Sweat or Zion Young. But I think with the quality of linemen on the board right now, you can't pass it up, especially with the value you have. And also, you just brought in Ty Simpson in my mock. So you may as well go ahead and shore up that offensive line. Spencer, Caleb, Caden. I think if you want to go potential and youth, you go Caden. If you want to go like guy that can plug in right now and be a day one starter and a day one contributor, you probably go Spencer. It's a toss-up in my opinion, so I'll probably go Spencer with his pick for the Cardinals at pick 20. All right, 21. A team that has a need for a team that has a need for quarterback in the Steelers, and also linebacker and safety. The Steelers could go safety with his pick, Emmanuel McNeil Warren, but it's maybe too rich for the Steelers. So I say, why not just go guard? You already have this love and infatuation for someone like Vega One. So why not go guard and get someone like Chase Basantis? out of Texas A&M. I don't think it's too rich for him to go this early at all. This is a very special player, day one starter, and the Steelers have a need to plug up their offensive line. They already have their bookend tackles in Fuaga and Broderick Jones. You bring in Chase to play alongside Zach Frazier, you are in a really good spot offensive line wise, and you can draft a quarterback rather if it's a Drew Allar or Grant Nussmeier in the second or third round. Pick 22. I had this last week and I'm sticking to it. This has pretty much been a common theme with this pick, in my opinion. Although Peter Woods is available, Caden Proctor is available, but the Chargers don't have a need for offensive line. They just run healthy last year. The guys are coming back healthy, and Rashawn Slater and Joe O. So I think this is a pickup where Caden McDonald, arguably the best D tackle in this year's draft class, comes off the board. This would be a great selection for the Chargers, and they have a need for a defensive trench player up front for sure. The Lions, go ahead and draft your left tackle or right tackle. All signs point to Penei Sewell moving to the left side. Draft Caleb Loomis to play your right side. You could go Caden Proctor right here, but I think Caden Proctor will be a Brown. The Browns don't necessarily need offensive line play because they did a pretty good job of revitalizing and revamping this O-line in free agency, but because of free agency for a reason, right? Teams didn't believe in them, so they went elsewhere. I think Caden Proctor will be a guy that can develop and probably start at some point in the season as well. Pick 25. The Buccaneers on the board after trading down with the Bears, and I think you can still go edge rusher right at this pick. You have a lot of names to choose from, Akeem Matador or Zion Young. I think Akeem Matador will be an excellent pickup, a really strong pickup right here. And I think I'm going with that pick. He is a bit older. However, he was arguably outside of Ruben Bain Jr. and Keontae Scott, probably better than Keontae Scott, who, depending on who you're talking to, was the second best defender on this Hurricanes team last year. He finished with 12.5 sacks, and he was a monster to deal with. And if you send him to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and playing Todd Bowles defense, he will be a matchup nightmare for any opposing offensive line to go against. So, pick 26, the Bills on the board. The Bills have a need for edge. This could have been an Akeem pick, but there's still some quality edges on the board, in my opinion. You have TJ Parker and Zion Young, and Zion Young has been getting a lot of love in the first round out of Missouri edge rusher. I say, why the hell not go ahead and do it? You could go safety here, but you have Cole Bishop, and you can attack safety later. There's some good quality names in the back. Past Emmanuel McNeil Warren, in my opinion, like AJ Halsey, Genesis Smith, Kamari Ramsey, so on and so forth, and Jalen Kilgore. So they can address safety later, in my opinion. But right here, I think you go Zion Young. You have a need for edge rusher. You did bring in someone like Bradley Chubb, but you can't trust him for a full season, right? You also have Gregory Rousseau, who's a really special talent, in my opinion, but he kind of needs that running mate to really make his game pop off from a more broader standpoint. Pick 27, Trent Williams is still up in the air, and I don't think the Niners should try to bank on him returning by training camp, so why not just go ahead and draft his replacement? I like Max, I can't pronounce his last name, the offensive tackle out of Arizona State, Max Ihanakor. I could be saying that completely wrong. I'll figure it out by next week for sure because I'm quite sure I will have him going first round once again. But Max, tackle out of Arizona State, is a pretty good player. Has some good size, good technique on him, and he can bode well as the franchise tackle for this Niners team going forward. They could go receiver right here. Casey Concepcion is right on the board. Mari Cooper Jr. is on the board as well. Even someone like Denzel Boston, but you got to shore up that offensive line, man. You have a $60 million quarterback at the helm. He was a bit unhealthy last year, and when he got healthy, he bounced back, and you're going to get a bit healthier with Christian McCaffrey coming back, George Kittle coming back, hopefully, and you also got to go out there and grab some receivers, and I think the Niners will do that later in the draft. Texans, right here. This could be a guard spot right here. I have some guards flying off the board. This could be a Peter Woods draft right here as well, but I think Emmanuel Pregnon, offensive guard out of Oregon, this would be the spot for him. I had the Texans going Chase Pasantis last mock, but I think the Texans still think offensive line right here because you have to protect your franchise asset. You're already possibly paying someone like Will Anderson Jr. $50 million. What are you going to pay CJ Stroud? Regardless of what the fans may think of CJ, the organization understands that CJ's their guy, right? Regardless of how he played, he's still going to get a really great contract, right? Anywhere from Jordan Love money, Trevor Lawrence money, hell, maybe even Dak Prescott money, depending on how the market shakes up for him, right? But he will be a $50 million plus man. So you got to go protect him. Draft Emmanuel Pregnon. Chiefs are back on the board. I have the Chiefs drafting who? Ruben Bain Jr., right? They still have a need for corner. They have a need for corner still. And I think a corner like Colton Hood, Brandon Sykes would be great. Avion Terrell would be great too. But Avion Terrell had a bad 40 time. He has some hamstring issues. And with hamstrings, man, I don't know. And he's a bit smaller. So why not go grab a corner that has some size on him? And Colton Hood or someone like Brandon Sykes. I'm a big fan of Brandon Sykes. So I think Brandon Sykes would be an excellent pickup for the Chiefs right here. And, they'll make it happen. Dolphins. They went I had him going Mekhi Lemon, right? No, I had him going Jordan Tyson. So Jordan Tyson was the first pick off the board for the Dolphins. And with them having a need for corner, I'm gonna have a risky move right here. 2 risky moves from the Dolphins, but they can definitely pay off if it is handled correctly. I think Chris Johnson can find himself being a first-round pick. I ain't gonna hold you. He is a special player, man. 6 foot. Then he ran like a 4.3, 840 at the combine, has great size, range, hip, explosiveness, so on and so forth, great ball skill. He's a really good corner. I think he finished out PFF's like top-ranked corner in college football last year while playing for San Diego State. He's a dog. Now, is he better than guys like Colton Hood, Avion Terrell, D'Angelo Pons? Probably not, right? But at the same time, though, in the draft, you bank off potential. I think Chris Johnson being able to go up against bigger receivers in the AFC East, like your Garrett Wilsons, well, not bigger receivers, but you want a big corner that can tower those smaller receivers like Garrett Wilson, whoever the receiver is going to be out there in New England, rather if it's Kayshon Boutte, who's bigger in size, but Pop Douglas or Romeo Dobbs, maybe even A.J. Brown. You can play guys like Chris Johnson against those guys, right? Even for the Bills, DJ Moore, Keon Coleman, if he can bounce back, Khalil Shakir. Those are guys that I like Chris Johnson to mirror and fare off really well against those receivers I named. So I think Chris Johnson will be a great pickup for the Dolphins, and they have a need for cornerbacks. So why not swing for the fences on a guy that can project to be really special at this level? 31. He's still on the board, ran a good 40 today. If you listen to this podcast, which is dropping on Thursday, CJ Allen ran a 4.47. So they clocked him around a 4.45 to a 4.5. He's going to be special in the NFL, man. I think the Patriots end up retaining their first-round pick and not giving up to the Eagles for A.J. Brown. I think C.J. Allen would be a great pickup for the Patriots. Now, as you can see as a Jaguars fan, we don't have a first-round pick. Granted, we may not have a first-round pick on draft night, but it did not stop me from saying, hell, in my mock draft 2.0, I want to put the Jacksonville Jaguars back on the board. And what did they give up? They gave up a good amount. Pick 56. They picked late in all these drafts, by the way, and they also have multiple picks to give up. So I gave up pick 56, pick 88, and pick 100. A second, a third, and a fourth that's extra going to the Seahawks. The Seahawks, they lost some significant pieces in free agency. They lost K9. They lost Josh Jobe, right? They also lost Boye Mofe, guys that help contribute to a championship. Even someone like Kobe Bryant. Like I said, guys that contribute to a championship. So why not gain draft compensation? Because you already just paid JSN. You're going to pay Devin Witherspoon here pretty soon too, right? So why not load up on draft capital so you can afford to pay those players because you have young ones coming in. The Jaguars, they don't have a first-round pick, but they have draft capital to get back into the first round. And, of course, James Gladstone and Liam Cohen did not hesitate and say, hey, we're going hunting. We're looking to be aggressive. And if the opportunity presents itself, we're going to make a move. And I think an opportunity definitely will. And that's why I have the Jaguars jumping back into the first round at pick 32 to draft Peter Woods, D-tackle out of Clemson. The Jaguars have a desperate need for D-tackle play. And I think Peter Woods will be an excellent pickup for the Jaguars and really hone in and make their defensive line be what it should be, with 2 edge rushers making top 5 money in the NFL, and Edge and Trayvon Walker and Josh Hines-Allen. So, as you can see on the big screen, I'm going to put it up there so you all can see it on the YouTube channel. Take a screenshot, comment down below. Like I said, this is Mock Draft 2.0. I thank y'all so much for tapping in. This is more of a quicker mock. So, hopefully, I wasn't talking too fast for you guys to pick up on what I was trying to put down. I'm excited about the draft, man. It is going to be happening a week from now when this podcast drops. And I will more than likely be going live on my TikTok the day of draft. So we'll give more information when that time comes. But this is my mock draft 2.0 for the 2026 NFL first round. And like I said before, man, please, if you haven't already, sub to the channel, follow the channel, turn on post notifications, share, comment down below your thoughts on this mock draft, because I do believe in comparisons to my mock draft 1.0, this is a lot better. And I think I think a lot of fans out there will enjoy it. So we'll see how you think about that. But with all that being said, I thank you guys so much for tapping in. This was a very fun episode. And until next time, that is a wrap.